Hello, welcome to Boys Town. It's a bright sunny day in the village of Boys Town, a very hot day, and it's a very exciting day in the village because we're preparing for graduation. Here in the village we have around 90 graduates who are going to graduate this Sunday, but we'd like to take a little step back and look at our history of graduation out here in the village of Boys Town and then talk about our graduation that will take place on Sunday. And I brought some images from the Hall of History that I can show you. And today we're actually in this very special building. This is the dining hall designed by Father Flanagan in 1946, and this is where our high school students still eat their meals today. It was created by Father Flanagan based upon the halls he ate at when he lived in Europe. And so it kind of looks like something you might see from Harry Potter. And that was Father Flanagan's intention many years before Harry Potter, to have a beautiful facility for the children to eat in. And it's still used by our high school students today. And I brought these images with us today, and these are from the Hall of History collection. And graduations have taken place out here at Boys Town over the years, beginning all the way back into the 1930s. And those were usually junior high graduations, because Father Flanagan did not have the ability to have a full functioning high school until 1937. Up to that point, the boys would graduate from 8th grade. And this is an image of some of the boys graduating from that time period. This is a scene from our great, the old auditorium we had here on campus. It's still in our building today. It's at our Wegner School, and that was created by Father Flanagan in 1930s. And this is a crowd of individuals from Omaha and supporters coming out to see the kids graduate from high school back in the graduation back in the 1930s. Our first high school graduation class took place in 1937. And this is an image of the boys who graduated, the first ones. That's when Father Flanagan had the ability to fund a full 12-year school system here for the boys. And so these are our boys graduating at that time in 1937. The graduation would take place again at our Wegner School in our gymnasium, which was then the gymnasium for campus. And this is what the graduation stage would look like back at the time, with Father Flanagan and other dignitaries sitting on the stage, and the boys and their families out in the audience, and then part of the Boys Town band you can see also. It was a huge event when this would take place. This is actually the scene, location where many scenes for the movie Boys Town was filmed also back in 1938. This is a graduation back in the 1940s, and at that time, J. Edgar Hoover came and was the keynote speaker, because Father Flanagan would invite national leaders to come and speak to the boys at graduation. So on this special day, J. Edgar Hoover came and did the graduation keynote address. And Mr. Hoover, when he was here, met several of the boys and felt these boys had opportunities to maybe join the FBI. So he actually took 4 of our boys back to the FBI, trained them, and they became FBI agents and stayed that way till they retired. So you never know what could happen at a graduation, especially when you have the head of the FBI come and visit the village of Boys Town. This is an image from that time in the 1940s, the boys all in their suits ready to graduate. Many of the boys would actually make their own suits in the tailoring classes here on campus, so they would have a brand new set of clothing when they would leave Boys Town. You can see they had their little boutonnieres, and they'd be all prepared to go out into the world. And back at that time, too, the boys, the seniors, would always get together and have a senior song. So this is a group of the boys singing their senior song for the other children at Boys Town at the dining hall, which today is the Hall of History Museum. The boys would actually each create a will, and in their will, they would will other boys in the village their possessions or something funny, and it was all part of the concept of them leaving Boys Town, their only family for many of them, going out in the world, but they always wanted to keep that connection with their Boys Town family and their brothers here in the village. This graduation, we had a very special speaker. The speaker is Mr. Henry Monsky, who is shaking the hands of one of our graduates. He is our first donor of Boys Town. He gave $90 to Father Flanagan to open the village of Boys Town. And he's with some of the graduates and Father Flanagan on that special day. It was a special honor. Father Flanagan wanted Mr. Monsky to participate in that because he's the gentleman that helped to make possible the creation of the village of Boys Town. Back in the 1950s, the music hall began to be used for our graduation. And this is an image from our music hall with when Senior Wegner, our next director, handing out the diplomas. And from the 1950s on to today, the music hall is now the location where our graduations take place. Father Flanagan designed it to hold around 800 people with a special stage and lighting, and it was all for that purpose of being a center of campus for special events like graduation. So we're very lucky it is still used today and has been renovated for the boys and girls and their families to come and enjoy for graduation. when graduation would take place on campus, the boys would all gather at the high school, put on their gowns and caps, and they would march down the street and march into the music hall as a class. And these are images of the boys marching in, and you can see some of them had their younger relatives come and their families to welcome them as they entered the music hall. And for many of these boys, it was a very special occasion. Some were never going to be able to graduate from high school due to situations they were in. Some were the first members of their families to graduate from high school. So it was a major event on campus when graduation would take place that these boys were prepared to go out into the world. In 1967, we had a very special guest come again. It was Vice President Hubert Humphrey. He came and helped Father Wegner to hand out the diplomas to the students back at that time, at that very special graduation. And at that time, our graduating classes averaged about 100 to 110 children. And then by the 1980s, our graduations would take place still at our music hall, and this is an image from that time period of some of our boys and girls graduating. Many of them with around their necks, you'll see medals. Those were medals given out to the students as they graduated from our program. And it was a huge achievement, again, for many of these children to have that ability to graduate. And here in the village of Boys Town, on Sunday, we're going to have another class leave us, our 2019 class. And our boys and girls need a lot of encouragement because many of them are going to be alone. They won't have any family or friends come to join them or not much support. So what we've done is we asked the Omaha community and the community all across the United States to help support our boys and girls. And they send in cards, and we have some of these cards here that we have on display. And these were cards sent by hundreds of people across America to our boys and girls with special messages encouraging them to stay on the right path and to overcome their issues and to turn to prayer or to other means of support when they leave Boys Town. And we're so happy that our supporters of Boys Town did that because our boys and girls, again, need that special support. We even had one come from the Omaha Police Chief. And in our music hall, or in the Great Hall here for graduation, we put hundreds of the cards up on display here. So when their boys and girls come in with their families, they'll be able to see these cards, and they'll be able to go up, open the card, and read that special message that someone has written to them, supporting them in their issues and overcoming their problems and now going on and having a new life. Some of them are from our alumni writing back saying, I was in the same shoes you are, and I went on and had a successful life based on the skills I learned in the village of Boys Town and trying to have a decent life and stay out of trouble, which our boys and girls, we try to do when they come to live with us. And we give them skills to do that. And within the music hall, in the Great Hall, we have these tables, and you'll see the dining tables where the boys and girls eat. And on the tables, we actually put some extra cards too, because the boys and girls, when they come in, they can sit down, read the cards, and then after the event, they'll actually be able to take some of the cards with them. And you'll see the panorama here, a view of our Great Hall. It's a beautiful building. And you see these special banners. These were the banners designed by our boys and girls during our centennial. And they're all created by our boys and girls here to show the history of Boys Town and our different theories and concepts. Father Flanagan's major concept, all colors, all creeds, all races, how everyone's welcome to come and live in the village of Boys Town. Graduation is going to take place on Sunday. We're going to have our boys and girls leaving us, but another group of boys and girls will be joining us soon. We want to thank everyone supporting them in their graduation. And if you'd like to help Boys Town further its mission, please go to boystown.org. Thank you very much for joining us today from Boys Town.